What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of From Screen to Shelf. This is just kind of an extension of the Alien Romulus review that we just did, but we wanted to get into spoiler territory because it's a super difficult movie to review without getting into spoilers. There's a lot that happens with this movie, and spoiler warning, you guys have been warned. We are going to get into the nitty-gritty of this movie, and there is a scene, I think, that Will and I are both thinking about that we kind of mentally made note of during the spoiler free review. So just final warning, spoilers from here on out. And you were thinking about the final scene of the movie with the I don't know how to what did you call it, man? It's like humanoid xenomorph. Like
I don't know what it is. I don't know. You know what it reminds me of? It doesn't remind me of Evil Dead Rise, but it does in the aspect that, Evil Dead Rise took some chances with how they chose to, let's just call it the final boss. That's the I guess that's the terminology
the final
we'll
boss
use for these kind of things. So I'm curious if this is going to become a trend now in mainstream movies, like where it's like they completely go in a different direction with I guess you could say like the antagonists. Yeah, man, I don't know what we would call it. It's technically a fusion of a human and a xenomorph, and it has some similarities to the characters, or I should say the what's the word for them? You'll know this more than I will. The in Prometheus.
Yeah, the dude, I'm blanking. I know what you're talking about. The initial figure that you see when the movie starts. Yeah.
It had certain similarities to that character, whatever you want to call that. So I was trying to figure out, like, I'm sitting there in a theater like, wait a minute. So okay, it's a cross between a human and a xenomorph, but like, where are they trying to go with this? Like, I'm just trying to, like, I don't know, man. That's the only thing about this movie that didn't necessarily work for me. And I'm not saying that it wasn't effective, because like whatever it was creepy. Like they actually, it was captured very well on camera. The whole fight between them, where it's like kind of stalking her at the end, was very well done. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't effective. It was definitely creepy. I just don't know. Again, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, is this something that we need in the Alien universe? And I don't know. That remains to be seen. Maybe it'll grow on me. I will say this: after watching Evil Dead Rise again, I had initial questions about the direction of the ending of that movie, and after watching it a second time on 4K on physical media, I still feel the same way that I did walking out of the theater. So I'm interested to see how I feel about this movie once I watch it again, months from now when it comes out on 4K. But I want to get your thoughts on that, because it's funny that we both thought of the same thing. I don't know, Gabe. I don't know. I don't know what to think about it, to be honest.
I'm torn on it. I mean, so when it was happening, I was just constantly telling myself, like, I appreciate that he's trying to do something new. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because he could have gone the safe route and just done a giant, xenomorph queen or stuff that we've seen before. But he's trying to kind of do something new. It looks creepy and weird. It's just, I guess it's off-putting in the sense that it doesn't fit the rest of the movie, right? It's like so new and different. So that I don't know, man. I'm honestly torn. I was telling my brother when we were walking out of it, I was like, I need to watch this again and see how I feel about it. Like, maybe 6 months from now, I'll watch it again and say it's totally fine. We needed something new. You know what I mean? We can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But it was just, you're gonna get that initial like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, man.
And it's odd.
It is odd. I mean, I think we should kind of tell the viewers, and again, this is a spoiler video, which is in the title. So when you watch this, you guys know by this point, if you clicked on this and you're upset that we're talking about this, I don't know how I can help you. But just so everybody knows how this whole creature comes to be, there's a serum that they find on this derelict station, so to speak. Some people are calling it a ship. Other people say it's an outpost, like an old Wayland Corporation outpost. anyway, there's a part in the ship where there's a laboratory that they were doing experimentations with, I guess, the xenomorph gene, I think, for lack of a better word, and like human blood
Yeah.
or
Well,
animal experiments.
I got the vibe this is the black liquid from Prometheus. So the first scene of Prometheus where they
Yeah.
drop that black liquid in the water. It's something to do like I think he had mentioned it in this movie too. It's like stripped down. It's like life itself. Pretty
Yeah.
much. It's life at its most basic form.
Yeah. So answer this question for me, because you've
Mhm.
seen Prometheus. You probably remember it better than I do. I think, in our last video when we did the spoiler-free conversation, you mentioned that you had liked Prometheus probably more than I did, right? Based
Mhm.
on what we said. But where does Prometheus take place? When and where in the alien universe does Prometheus take place? Because that's a question that I had when this was introduced in Romulus, because I'm remembering, like you are, I'm like, well, wait a minute, we've seen this before. And then when you see the creature at the end, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, well, this is kind of like connecting to Prometheus in regards to,
Yeah.
how the and forgive me, guys, I don't
It's
remember the name of what they are, but it
Yeah,
reminds
it's
me of
man,
the
oh,
alien from
I forgot
Prometheus.
what they're called, man. Like they're called like the Astro something. I don't remember what the name of them, but yeah, the Prometheus is a prequel, so it takes place, from my understanding, before. I mean, like so, Alien Romulus takes place between Alien and Aliens, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
Prometheus takes place. I think I want to say maybe even like hundreds of years prior. I don't remember.
hundreds of years before
I
Alien, right?
I I
Something
could
like
be
that.
wrong. Yeah, but it's
Okay.
it is a prequel to all the Alien movies. So it's weird that he kind of chose to. I don't know if he was trying to appeal to Ridley, who's producing the movie. It was kind of odd that he did kind of go into some of the Prometheus stuff, which was kind of divisive amongst the fan base. Like, I like Prometheus.
Yeah.
It's not like a horrible movie to me, but it's not amazing either. I think there's some elements to it that I really enjoy, and there's elements that I really hate.
Yeah.
But it is kind of, it's jarring in the sense that you're all of, 2/3 of the movie, it's like this extension of the original Alien, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into kind of like Prometheus land for a little bit, and
Yeah.
it does kind of mess with the vibe and even the editing and pacing in a way.
Yeah, I'm going to be completely honest. Like I said, and this didn't take away from the movie overall. I still
Hmm.
think it's a much better movie than what I've seen from Covenant. And again, I'm not going to watch Covenant again. I've seen a
I
majority
hate
of
it.
it in bits and pieces, so there's no need for me to revisit that. I'm probably not going to watch Prometheus again. So this movie, to me, I think has rewatchability.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm with you, man. It felt like a completely different. It just felt so detached from the first almost 3/4 of the movie,
Hmm.
for me anyway. And it's like you said, I think you might have mentioned this in the last video before we went into spoilers. You said that it almost felt like a second ending, you know?
Yeah, right. Because I felt like
And
after I mean, the climax to me was the whole part, which I thought was fantastic, by the way, the kind of the gravity situation
yeah,
where she's like shooting them and the acid's kind of floating around and they're navigating through that, and then the whole elevator sequence.
hmm,
I thought that was it. I'm like, okay, that, she won, like she's free now. And
yeah,
then you get into this weird situation with the final boss, as you as you call it. It's just a weird editing choice. It's a weird pacing decision, in my opinion.
yeah.
um it honestly knocked it down a point. Like, prior to this happening, I was probably saying like I love this film and I'd give it like a 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean
that
that's why I
happened and
ended up
it's like,
around my 7.5, like we talked about, or
mm,
I guess I don't know whatever that equates to. 3.75 out of 5 or four
yeah.
stars out of 5. Since I go by 5-star rankings instead of tens, like you guys. But yeah, I mean that's really the only thing that is like a negative for me.
Hmm.
The only other thing that I was questioning, and this is like again, I think rewatching it, maybe I'll get a better understanding of this. The ship that they use to get to this, decommissioned outpost or
Hmm.
decommissioned station. Do they? Does the gentleman own that? the pilot of that, is that their ship? Is that like a
That is
mining
something
ship?
that they didn't really, and maybe I missed it too. I don't know. Like they didn't touch on it that much because they had mentioned, they were like, hey, this is like your first time going into space or something. So I'm like, wow.
Right.
So like some of these guys haven't even been to space. And I'm like, so who owns this ship? And like,
Well,
where'd you guys get it?
yeah, and that particular thing that you just mentioned, that line of dialogue where, like, especially when they see the sun, right? It's alluding,
Mhm.
like you said, it alludes to the fact that a lot of these characters have not been off of the planet. Like they haven't left the planet's surface. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
And they live on this mining planet. It's supposedly like they work for the Wayland Corporation. They're pretty much like, there's a whole thing at play there
Indentured
where it's like,
slaves almost. Yeah.
yeah. So I, I'm trying to understand what's happening there because they just get in this ship and just take off. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, are they going to get caught? Like, are they supposed to be doing this? Like, is the
Well,
Wayland
because they
Corporation
reference
going to
like they're
come
not
after
allowed to
them?
get off planet, right? Like they had said
Right.
that
There's a whole
too.
thing about they're not allowed to leave. So how are they able to just get in a ship and just leave and, travel up to the, above the atmosphere of the planet into space and board this old decommissioned station? So that's the only plot point or part of the story that didn't really make sense to me. And maybe I'm overthinking this,
No, I
but
think
it's
it's a
the
fair assessment. Like it's
first point in the
definitely maybe
movie.
some world building that they could have expanded on at the beginning. And he
Yeah.
definitely had time because this movie's like 2 hours exactly.
I think it's an hour
Um,
and 59 or something like that. Yeah,
yeah, so
pretty
I think
close.
you could
Yeah.
have given another 5 minutes just kind of building the world a little bit more at the beginning.
Yeah.
I did love, like, I mean, he did a great job building the characters and the fact that, her brother is a oh my god, dude, why am I blanking out on terms today? Is a
Synthetic.
synthetic, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I thought that dynamic was great because he just switches so much throughout this movie where he's Andy and then he's not Andy, and it's like this
Yeah.
weird kind of emotional thing for her. I think they played that off really, really well.
Yeah, it was a really great way to kind of it's great because they kind of build that brother sister dynamic in the beginning, and you get a
Mhm.
sense that he's her protector, and obviously even though he's a robot, even though he's an android, because he's pretty much been with her since she's been a child, like since their father was alive. They mention how their parents are passed away,
Yeah.
like a lot of other people that are inhabiting this planet. It's a really, you kind of feel for their situation, and that's what I love is that right from the beginning you get the sense that these are people that are they're not wealthy by any means. They're kind of stuck on this mining planet, just essentially just trying to survive,
Yeah.
just to work and build up enough credits to give to the Wayland Corporation to be able to leave. And then obviously you see what happens with that. It gets just immediately shot down by the corporate overlords, which
Yeah,
is
their
like
their hours, it was 12,000 hours, and all of a sudden it's like, no, you got to do
24.
24,000.
And
Yeah.
it's like, wow, what a bunch of scumbags. But,
Yeah.
so you kind of feel for Rain as a
Mhm.
character and more so Andy and their relationship. And then to see that relationship kind of turned on its head once they put that other what do you call it, like the little disc
Yeah.
in his pro, whatever, there's like a little chip that comes out of him, which I thought that was
Mhm.
really well done. But it was a great way to kind of take that dynamic and kind of flip it on its side and kind of play it against, kind of have like a juxtaposition there. So I thought that was really well done throughout the movie, that it
Yeah.
created an additional layer of, I guess you could say, tension, because you're
Mhm.
kind of figuring out, like, you're questioning, like, what's going to happen here. Like, is he going to end up killing somebody? Which obviously we see what happens, but
Yeah.
I thought there was a great way to kind of take that and run with it in a different direction than what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So
And the other big spoiler that people probably want us to talk about is our boy's back. Rook is back from
hell yeah, man.
the original Alien, man.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
I was excited about it. I got the nostalgia with it, but dude, Disney you need to learn how to do freaking the mouths when
The
they're doing these
the
CGI
when
faces,
they're
man.
doing like deep fake, yeah, they need to
Yeah,
figure that
bro.
shit
Like
out,
there's
man.
people on YouTube that do it better than they do.
Yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
know.
It's just so hard to look at. So unfortunately, like that moment was kind of, it was ruined a little bit for me just because like you see his mouth and it's like it's not adding up, dude. This the CGI, and it just still shocks me that Disney's still doing this crap, man. Whether it's even Indiana Jones recently when they did the Dial of Destiny. I mean, Harrison Ford's mouth is like crooked and looks weird. But I mean, it was cool that he came back as a character. And I liked how, like, at first you didn't know it was him. He looked almost like a zombie, kind of. Like,
I
he had
love
the
how he's
drilling
just kind
stuff.
of there. And
Uh-huh.
they, I that was a great reveal. That's what I kind of like about this movie, though. Overall, I think they did a decent job with it. It's great that he came back and was actually a part of the plot in the story, as opposed to just like this one-off, like quick cut scene of, where it's like a quick reference and then it's like they move on with it. So I appreciate the fact that not only they brought him back, but he was actually an essential part of the story, moving forward throughout the rest of the movie. But yeah, I agree with you with the VFX, man. They gotta get their shit together over there, because
I don't understand how they have
it's
that
just
much
weird
money
at
though,
times.
dude. Luke Skywalker, they
It's
did Luke
weird.
Skywalker and the Mandalorian. It was the same thing too. It's like I don't understand how
Yeah.
people on YouTube do it better than
Yeah.
Disney does, which is kind of weird.
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
if there was any other moment. Were there any other moments that I know the big part was obviously the humanoid xenomorph alien
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, there wasn't. I don't want to even call them negatives, because again, I'm still trying to grapple in my
Yeah.
own mind how I feel about that ending. So, for me, it's probably going to take some time to marinate for me to really come to a concise decision on that. But yeah, I mean, the only things that I guess I would say were like kind of made me question things in terms of the story and the writing. It was that whole question. I was questioning how they were able to just get that ship and get to the decommission station. That didn't make a lot of sense. I was questioning that. Other than that, the only things would be the ending and the whole
The
thing with
elevator
Rook and
part
the.
too, though, when she's falling and the alien catches her.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that
I was
part.
like,
There are some moments you have to suspend belief a little bit, and I'm like,
yeah.
really?
Well,
And
here's the thing. I
I
mean,
didn't
they.
understand it. Like, I didn't understand, like, did the alien, and this is what I was mentioning earlier in the review too. I'd mentioned that there were a lot of quick cuts happening in this movie. So one was her falling and the alien catching her. All of a sudden she's on a ladder, and I don't know if I blinked and I missed how she got on the ladder. And
Well, no,
then
the alien caught her, and it was
uh-huh.
lifting her up to like its level, and it was lifting her up, and she was able to grab onto the ladder. Which
Okay.
is weird, because I question that too, because wouldn't it just let her fall? Like, why does it doesn't need her
Yeah,
alive
it doesn't make
necessarily,
any
unless it was
sense.
trying to catch her to drag back to like the nest to,
Sure, to maybe
because
like reproduce or feed on
yeah,
or.
so that's the only thing I can think of.
But you
Other
think
than
she would
that,
like
I
it
mean,
would like the tail would wrap around her and like wouldn't let her get to the ladder. You know what I mean? Like it
right.
was just I don't know. I don't know if I missed it. And then the other scene was at the very end when she's hanging from the rope. She's in that one suit, and then the humanoid xenomorphs like attached to her, and then she does something. I think she yanks on the cord or something, and all of a sudden like she's like sucked back up in the ship, and the things like I had no idea what the hell happened there. It was another
There's a
quick
few
cut
different
where
things. Yeah, there's a few different things that happened there. It was she had to release like those 4 levers in order
Mhm.
to drop the cargo container. But then there was also, I'm trying to think what else happened. The egg, so to speak, that it hatches out of
Mhm.
still had like the acid blood in it.
Yeah, and I got that part.
I remember she kind of kicks that onto the ground. It melts through the floor, the cargo container, thus creating the decompression, and
Decompression,
that
yeah.
sucks the thing out. But yeah, I'm trying to remember most of that too, because there's a whole thing where like she's like climbing back up to the other container, and or she's climbing up through the hole, and
Mhm.
it's stuck outside, and then I think she uses the cord to pull the lever, the
Something like
last
that,
lever,
yeah, but it just
because it gets
happened
caught
so
on the lever.
fast. It
Yeah,
happened so quickly where I literally was just getting popcorn, look up, and then, like, she's, like, back up, and I'm like, "Man, that's so quick." Like, I didn't know what happened there.
yeah,
There are definitely moments, like, when you kinda go through them, because we're talking about spoilers, that you definitely have to suspend your belief about, and I don't think we touched on that in the
yeah.
spoiler-free review, and if you're able to do that, I think you're probably gonna like this movie a lot more. If you
Mm,
overthink about, everything, if you're asking like, well, how did this happen? Does this make sense? Then I think maybe you might not like it as much.
right.
But with these movies, I just always suspend belief, dude. I mean, they're just so,
Yeah.
some of them are just so over the top. So, um,
Well, we talked
yeah,
about some stuff that we didn't like. I mean, here's one thing that I really liked that they kind of introduced in this movie was the zero gravity
yeah,
concept,
dude,
where
I
the whole
loved
way
it.
that was set up, and where the gravity generators have to recharge. I like how they introduce it in the beginning and it becomes a big scene towards the end of the film. I think that was cool,
Yeah.
especially with the alien blood. Like that was great, man. That was a great
Mm-hmm.
sequence and something that we haven't really seen before in an
Mm-hmm.
alien movie. So it was taking something that we know from the rest of the franchise and kind of doing something new with it. And I love that. I thought that was really cool. I think it was a really cool way to convey that or just show that. I think they did a good job with that. You know, it was just
And
a
that's what
neat
this
little thing.
movie
You
is.
know?
I think that it's just like a lot of scenes where it's like, oh, like we've seen this before, but he's implementing in a new way that's kind of fresh
Yeah.
and kind of revitalizing the franchise a little bit. So,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, I mean, if there's any other spoilers, I can't think of any off the top of my head, man, but I'm sure maybe people will comment down below and let us know if there's certain parts of the movie that they want us to talk about, and make sure that you preface spoilers in the comments
Yeah.
below. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun movie, man. I can't wait to see it again. I'm kind of tempted to watch it again this weekend. I don't know if I will or not, but I'll definitely be giving it
Yeah.
another rerun when it comes out on 4K.
I got some friends that are interested in seeing it. My other buddy's going to see. I got some buddies that are going today because it's still like there's still screenings in my area. I went to an early show. I went to 4 p.m. show like as soon as they got out of work. So there's going to be more people that are going to see it this weekend. I might see it again next week with a good friend. So depending on how things work out. But I mean, ultimately, I mean, do I need to see it again in theaters? Probably not. I mean, I will go again if I have the chance just to support it because I think overall it's a pretty solid movie. But yeah, I mean, if it ends up being I have to wait for the 4K, that's totally fine. But I'm interested to watch it again on 4K. I'm interested to see if I noticed anything, at home that I didn't recognize or remember from the theater. But yeah, definitely a movie I'm going to have to revisit, especially because of that ending. So
Yeah,
we'll
it's
see.
gonna be
We'll see
interesting
how.
seeing the final boss on our OLEDs when
Yeah.
when the time comes down to it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you have any questions or comments about the movie, feel free to put them down below, and we'll try to get to them the best we can. And as always, we appreciate you guys for watching. Take it easy, guys.